Following reports on the spate of SMS phishing scams, the Monetary Authority of Singapore says OCBC Bank will be conducting a thorough probe to identify the deficiencies in its processes and implement the necessary measures. And subsequently, MAS will consider the appropriate supervisory actions. Well, a quick recap of what we know so far. A police statement on December the 30th last year revealed that nearly 470 OCBC Bank customers had lost at least $8.5 million to scammers sending unsolicited SMSes to victims, claiming there were issues with their banking accounts. The message directed these customers to click on a link to resolve the issue, and this led to fake bank websites where victims keyed in their internet banking account login details. Victims said they were fooled because the fake SMSs had appeared in the same message thread as genuine ones that OCBC previously sent for one-time passwords or transaction alerts. While lawyers said the extent of liabilities either to the bank or customers depends on the circumstance of the scam, OCBC said it's already been making goodwill payments to affected customers. It's been doing so since January the 8th, and more than 30 customers so far have received the payments. But the bank did not say how much it's paid out or if it intends to fully compensate every victim. With more is Brian Tan, who heads the Technology, Media and Telecommunications practice at law firm Pinsent Masons. Brian, do the affected OCBC customers have legal recourse to completely recover their lost funds?
Well, the question of legal recourse is quite a difficult one to determine. Banks have basically two obligations that they owe to customers. One is a contractual obligation where they are to deal with the customer's money according to the contract they have with the customers. And the second is a duty of care or duty in negligence, not to be negligent in how they deal with that. On both scores, if the customer has been acting in accordance with the agreed procedure that the bank has put in place, then the bank is entitled to deal with the funds as provided for, as ordered. And in the bank's view, it would have followed those procedures. The second would be whether the bank was negligent. Again, this is a matter that you need to establish that the bank didn't follow its processes, or it could have, it had a standard of care that it didn't observe. Then there would be legal recourse. But on the whole, I'll say that customers of banks will have an uphill battle in trying to find legal recourse against a bank.
Well, Brian, you talked about negligence on the part of the bank, or possible negligence on the part of the bank. Building on that, under which circumstances would OCBC or any bank in a similar situation be liable?
So, for instance, if the bank has not followed an agreed or an industry standard of practice, then the bank could possibly face claims where losses have accrued from that. If, for instance, the bank has also acted after it has received contrary information, so where notice of losses or notice of fraudulent activity had taken place and the bank did nothing, then liability would also accrue. Again, these are very hard to prove, as in this case, and this would be, again, an uphill battle for bank consumers, bank customers to prove.
Well, it is important to note that OCBC's banking systems were not compromised when the December scams were carried out. Brian, to prevent future phishing attempts, do systems outside the banks need monitoring? And what is an appropriate level of surveillance? Because, you know, privacy laws will have to be considered as well.
Yes, so we can see that from here, what we call the perimeter defenses of the banks have remained intact. Right? There hasn't been attack on those perimeter defenses. There wasn't a hacking through the bank systems. But what we have here is one activity that's done outside of the bank systems, which then impact how the bank systems have been accessed, and possibly after that activity within the bank, where you see all these transactions taking place, and whether the fraud systems pick that up. So I think two of the things that could be focused on would be these two areas. One, activity that's outside of the bank. How much surveillance should be done? Now, this is a tricky question to try to navigate, because you do too much of it, people will say that it's an invasion of privacy. But if you do too little of it, then there's a lot of incorrect behavior, incorrect activity that then runs outside of the bank that has gone unnoticed. And secondly, I think the banks should do, and they should also continue to do, to monitor the transaction levels that occur within the banking system to see whether there are any trends that are unusual that they hopefully can then pick up and take appropriate action.
Well, thanks so much, Brian. Lawyer Brian Tan, a partner at Pinson Masons.